Okay, here's hoping things sound okay. Um, because when I checked it beforehand, it was fine. Um, let me see. Wow, there's quite the delay from what I did on here on OBS versus what's coming up on the screen. So we shall see. So, been a while, quite a while. I'd say it's well over a year since I posted a tutorial or anything. And long story about all that. I had, I have bad fibromyalgia. And this past year, my hands developed really severe carpal tunnel. Like, I could hardly use them at all. To the point where they tried physio, they tried cortisone shots, and if it couldn't get settled down, they wanted to do surgery on both my hands. And I'm like, what do I have to do to avoid the surgery? So it was recommended that I stop crocheting, knitting, cut down on the repetitive motion stuff, see what we could get done, and get it settled down. So as much as that pained me, because that's what keeps me sane, is doing that stuff, I followed the doctor's orders as long as they told me to. I, at one point, was told, okay, you can try to start back up again. And maybe after a week, my hands were worse. So, cortisone shots, which they helped, but it was I had to wear wrist braces on both hands, and I was doing whatever I could to avoid the surgery, which I did. And the next time when I was told start trying to ease back into it, I did, and I didn't try to do it. Okay, my version of what easing back is versus what they meant. Because as soon as I was told I could try to start crocheting, I'm like, go to make a blanket. Got to get a blanket done. I'm going crazy. That's not what they meant. So I did very much ease back into it, where it may have been the first little bit, I got like a row done of something. And then I had to take a break for a couple of days, go back into it. And I had all these stretches to do with my hands and stuff. So it seems to have settled down. I've been keeping it settled down. I'm back into it. I'm sure you can see on the table beside me here and behind me, I have a lot of works in progress. Like the number of whips is like insane, because I'd see all these projects that I want to do and I'd start it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to try doing some knit. Cause like, I don't know if people realize, like, I do both knitting and crocheting. And for the first part of the channel, I was kind of strictly sticking with the crocheting part, but I was doing a lot of knitting behind the scenes because I was making a lot of gifts and stuff like that. Anyway, I find crocheting uses your hands in one way, but knitting uses them in another. So if my hand was getting tired and I could start feeling like the tingling and stuff when I was crocheting, I'd start a different project or pick up a project that I was working on that was knitting. And that seemed to help. So then I'd keep switching back and forth, which meant it took me forever to finish one project. Because in the meantime, as I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing new yarns come out and I'm seeing this, that, and I'm like, that will look good with this, or that will look good doing that. And before you know it, my pile of projects that have been started are through the roof. Sorry about that. So my phone only rings through for 2 people, so when I hear it, I have to check it because it could be important. So anyway, and so some of the things that I'm going to show you, and I have a yarn order because I have something I'm going to try that I've never done, and fingers crossed we're going to try to figure it out together, because I think for the first little bit, I'm going to try. I never used to have myself on the camera when the tutorials and stuff. I think I'm going to try to do to ease back into these things is, okay, I want to mod you, but that wasn't the account I wanted to mod. But let me know if this is the one that you'll be using, because if it is, I'll mod it while you're here. Actually, I'll mod it anyway. There we go. Where was I? What was I saying? Anyway, I'm going to try to do, I think for the first little bit, to ease into something, is do a live once a week to ease back into it, because I plan on doing some working on the whips and working that out, and just chit-chatting, see if there's any questions, see if there's any kind of suggestions of things you want to see. For those who have seen past streams of me before, you're going to notice the backgrounds are quite different. My yarn wall is no longer my yarn wall. Our son is huge into Lego, and his room only holds so much, and because we do what we need to do to keep our children happy, as I was using up yarn, and I'm like, well, you can have this shelf and you can have that shelf. So I still have like yarn here, and there's shelves off the ways that you can't see in the camera. And there's like lots of yarn in that behind me too. So there's another bag of a whip, and more down in the corner. So there's lots of catching up to do. And I've got some things that I was kind of like keeping track of when I was on a hiatus that I want to. My camera keeps trying to focus, and I don't know why. I may need to get some tech support for that. So there was things that I was kind of trying to keep track on. I got to figure out why that's doing that. Properties. Oh, everything looks normal. I don't know why it's trying to focus. So anyway, I had to reset up everything for streaming and stuff, because I had originally done streaming through Twitch for gaming and stuff, so I switched it back over to this, and I had to redo things, so I probably have some settings messed up, so I apologize if that's the issue. So I was trying to keep track of some things along the way that I would like to bring to the channel, or see if there was interest in stuff. One thing I'm going to do is I started a few squares, and I have them here. It's just because working on granny squares is fairly easy. And this is just a basic granny square. And I'm trying to mix in some colors, like do different colors. Each color is included in each square, but just kind of like a variety. And I got this Lion Brand Pound of Love. It's the color is Sugar Cookie, because what I'm going to do is do another round. Just these are 2 rounds of each color, but what I'm going to do is just do 1 round of the Sugar Cookie on the edge, so that when the 2 squares are put together, it ends up being just the double. And I figured, because a lot of times granny squares are shown, but they're not necessarily shown how you put them, like different ways to put them together. So I thought I'd do a bunch of granny squares, once here and there, get some of the other whips up out of the way, and then do that together. I have other yarn here. This is a dark gray. It looks like it's black, but it's dark gray, because so one thing the plan was the granny squares, work on them together while we chit chat. Another thing, let me just reach for this because this is huge. And this is a knit project. And this has been in one of my project bags now for probably about a year because I just could not do it. And so knitting the round, this is the sleeve part, but then you increase your stitches so that you have this. And what it is it's a sweater shawl or a sweater scarf. So you put, and the middle part is super long before you get to start doing the other sleeve, because what happens is you put one sleeve on, wrap it around you, and then the other sleeve goes on. So it's like a wrap. So I'm going to show how to do that, and that's what the other color's for. But I wanted this one's for me. Very rarely do we get to make things for ourselves. So I'm going to try to get this one finished up, which might be one of the whips that we work on in the first little bit during the lives. And then I will start working on it maybe perhaps during a live, or it could end up being just a video as a tutorial, because it's very beginner friendly. Very. There's only 2 stitches you know how to do. I had to think about it for a second because it's very easy. It does take a fair bit of yarn. I think I had started using, this is made out of the Lion brand Pound of Love as well. And the one I'm making right now is in the color Quartz. I just had a couple, because I made some sweaters out of this. It was part balls on my stash. So I thought I'll just use them up, because it looked like it was going to have enough, because there was like 3/4 of one of these and another full one. So I only have but this much left of the full one. So I had to go get another one. Don't you just hate yarn shopping? More yarn jumps in your cart accidentally. So once I finish this, which I'm getting close to being onto the next sleeve section, because in between sleeve, from the start of this sleeve until the next sleeve, when you have to start it, it's 104 inches. It's pretty long, but you got to consider I'm making the extra large, so it's got to wrap around me, like, so it's gonna be cute. So I will, when that gets all done, we'll start another one, do a tutorial. But again, it's gonna be super easy because you're only gonna do the ribbing for the sleeve, and then it's just knits and purls, and you're just knitting it straight. So in the sleeves, you can either use double pointed needles or the magic loop method. And I love the magic loop method now that I've figured it out. But it's super easy, and it's gonna be so cozy. And this yarn is so soft, and it washes really, really well. I try to use the Pound of Love when I'm making the baby blankets and stuff. So anyway, so that's going to be something we're going to work on. Now, let me just throw this to the side. Another thing I've been working on, which isn't my pattern, but I'm making a blanket. It's the Crochet Crowds. It's called the Study of Reality blanket. And this is going to be a Christmas gift for somebody that's helped us out. So I can't really, that's not my pattern, so we're not really going to touch that. But I've been working on that. I'm almost done. One thing I'm going to get back to, because I had started the series on the alphabet blanket, and that was when everything was kind of abruptly put to a halt partway through, because I had the next video that should have gone up partially recorded. But here's the thing. I have to start a blanket again and get to the point where we stopped, because I don't know. I put the whip in a safe place when the Lego started happening, because I had to move it. So it's in a bag somewhere, and I don't know where. So I'm going to start again, and I may record the whole thing from start to finish and just remove the first few videos that are already there. That way there's consistency with color, because I'm going to get a better color. I'm going to get a more neutral color, I think. That way, whoever, I'll probably post it for sale on Facebook Marketplace or wherever. And that way it can go to somebody who wants it. So that's something else. Then for a nice, if you're trying to figure out knitting, it's a diamond pattern. This is just a cotton washcloth. It's called the diamond brocade dishcloth. So here's the thing with this. If we can do this, I'll make a tutorial for it. If you liked it, it is so easy to turn around and make larger multiples and turn it into a blanket. So there's like the front side and the back. Like, it's majority of knitting stitches aren't reversible, but they don't have a very big, like the back is still just as nice. So we're going to do that. I have all these in a pile. Then another one, some people see it as feather and fan. Sometimes it's called old shale. And I have to make sure I got the right side. There's that side. So what I thought we would do is, I would do a tutorial on the overall pattern, the repeats, because again, it's beginner / very low intermediate, I would say. But to learn the pattern and the repeat, and then one of the whips work on during the live might be, I'll do a baby blanket. So that might be something like that. I had down here the crawler stitch. There's a lot of patterns out there, or tutorials out there, so I don't know if that'll be one, because this was one of the first ones I was going to do, because I had recorded the first part of a baby blanket with it. So I don't know, we might go back to that one. There's that. So I have some things in mind, and I am open to suggestions. I did on the Facebook, I have the Facebook group. I had a Facebook page before, but apparently I set it up wrong. It was just more set up almost like an individual page. So I kind of sorted things out and started a Facebook group. Currently, I think there's 2 of us. So, lots of room for growth there. So, if you're interested, because I know there's so many Facebook groups out there, that should work. It should. There we go. So there's the link. It's a private group. You'll get it. If you try to join, you have to wait for approval, and we don't want any scammers and the bots and all that stuff. But it's, if you have questions, if you have projects you finished that you want to share that you're super proud of, or if you have questions, or, it's open discussion on like knitting, crocheting, crafting, needlepoint, cross stitch, anything crafty. We don't have to stick to just crochet. What else? So those are a few projects. I have some other sweaters and other blankets in mind, but I have to kind of get pen to paper to sort out patterns and stuff like that, because sometimes what you picture in your mind, and then when you try to do it in practice, the theory seemed good, but when you start to do it, you're like, I need to change that because that's just not going to look right. Or you do one round of this and you're like, the numbers aren't going to work for what I want to do the next round. You have to kind of like, there's a bit of trial and error. So until I get things sorted out and get kind of a test item done, I'm just going to keep that kind of to myself for now. I may do some yarn reviews. The only thing is, where I'm at, which is in Eastern Canada, the majority of my yarn comes from either Michael's and very occasionally Walmart. For me to order, I was watching Madame Gilded Loop, and he was doing he had really nice yarn from Ice Yarns, and he was talking about the sale. I'm like, okay, even with the Canadian US conversion, that still might be a good deal. Well, the yarn, like a ton of yarn, was going to only be like $43. I'm like, that's not bad, because for what I was going to get. And then I went to go to the checkout. Guess what they want to charge me for shipping to Canada? $85. I'm like, and there's a little stipulation or whatever that any duty would be put on at the end. I'm like, well, $85 plus duty, even at $85, I'm like, that's no. So, and it's either Hobby Lobby or Hobie. Hobby Lobby. There's a couple other ones in the States that have lots of really nice yarn. They don't deliver to Canada. So, like I can get Mary Maxim, but some of the things I can kind of find equivalent yarn at Michael's that I don't need to try to order from somewhere else, especially if I have coupons, which I love my Michael's coupons. If I have a coupon, I can get fairly good, decent deals. So sometimes I just have to be patient for Michael's to have what I'm looking for. And now they're bringing in some of the the stuff they got out of Joann's. I forget the name. I'm a little frazzled tonight because I haven't done this in so long. So I'm a little bit in little nerves again. So, and I know I'm all over the place, but I'm trying to keep straight. I should have wrote down what all I wanted to mention. So we got these in mind. Now I'm going to show you this came from Walmart. I was wanting to get some yarn that I've never used before because I've kind of always shied away from it because I've heard how tricky it was to use, or I've heard one horror story or another. All right, so I'm doing great. Well, thank you. I ordered, and this is all the same kind. They had this on for $5. So I was like, it's normally like 15 or something, or 12. So this is all the same. And what kind of sucks is 6 was the maximum I could buy. Whether it's because it was on sale, I don't know. So anyway, let me open this because your yarn should never be kept in plastic because it's got to breathe. It is like, it does have stuff in it that you need to let it breathe a little bit. Throwing all the plastic over to the side. But this is one of the things, this is the thing I was saying we were gonna try to figure out together. So this is the Yarnspirations Red Heart Granny Square All-in-One. No color switching, keep on stitching. And this is the color Soft White Shadow. So there's a color. The camera's going to want to try to focus. So the granny square. But I'm not going to do granny squares. No, I want to try to figure out color pooling. And you know what's bugging me already? No, never mind. I thought I saw a bunch of knots. It's just the end of the skein. I was like, you mean to tell me I got all these knots already? Anyway, for a Red Heart yarn, this isn't that rough. So I'm kind of surprised at that. So they recommend a 5.5 millimeter hook. I think I might bump that down to a 5 because I want to try to do the granny stitch, color pooling, so that I want to try to get that tartan kind of shape. So there might be some trial and error. I know some yarns work better with the moss stitch, but I'm hoping this has, I'm going to kind of pull some yarn out to try to see how long the color, each color is. And if it's consistent, I'm hoping to be able to get a nice color pooling product go. There's that thing again, but there was one on this side. Anyway, so I figured for $5 a skein, and I got 6 skeins, and I think it cost me $43 after tax and everything. Not bad for 6. Wouldn't have been the color I wanted, but this was the only color that was marked down. So I figure for $5 just gain, we'll give this a try. And there will probably be some trial and error. So I thought I'd give it a try. And if everything works out well, I might give it a go in whenever other colors are on sale and marked down, because it's super pretty when you can get that color pooling to land right, and you can get that nice argyle. It looks nice. So that's another thing. I want to, what was the other one? I mentioned about the alphabet blanket. I mentioned about the dishcloth. I mentioned about the knitting. There will be more tutorials and stuff. It's just, I want to ease back into this, and I wanted to start incorporating the lives and stuff like that, because it gives an opportunity, because sometimes you have questions and you're like, well, I'd like an answer. So if there's something that comes up, even if it's with another project you're doing, if it's something that you need help with, maybe I can help answer, maybe I can't, but at least somebody to perhaps help you. If there are stitch patterns, any kind of tutorial you're looking to do, that's what I was going to say, on YouTube. I believe I set up the community section so that people can actually post stuff there. The only thing I, like any other place, like any other platform, keep it nice, keep it friendly. We're adults. So if you have suggestions for things you'd like to see, or a video that maybe you're like, I'm stuck on this part of a pattern, I cannot do any kind of tutorial or anything like that that's to do with somebody else's pattern. That's a huge no-no. But if it's just like a generic stitch pattern, like you're like, I'm just gonna say that I don't know how to do the half double crochet, or I don't know how to do the bean stitch. If I can make a video on something like that, I will. Or if I've already got something like that, I'll point you in that direction. Because a lot of the things I have posted, you'll find a link to, I have a website on WordPress, and a lot of the things have the patterns there. You just have to click the download, and all my patterns on there are free. I don't charge for them. So, yeah. The alphabet blanket, did that. Tutorials, did that. The lives, we're going to try to do those once a week. We'll see how it goes. Might bump those up. We're going to do some works in progress. Possible yarn reviews. But again, I'm kind of limited as to what I can get for yarn. But if I can, I will. Because what I would plan to do, say a lot of them are like 4-weight, I would do the squares I would try to do my samples, no matter what the stitches are. I wouldn't do it the same stitch every time, but no matter what the stitches are, do them all, say 10 inches by 10 inches. And then after we have so many samples, they can get put together just like in a patchwork blanket. So, because what else would you do? Now, if you were using cotton or whatever, you could just use them as dishcloths or washcloths. And I was thinking too, pot holders, because the cotton, especially if you use the insulated stitch, make nice pot holders, especially if you're somebody who likes to make small little things, like for teachers for gifts at Christmas, or just like little stocking stuffers, or if you do craft fairs. Just sometimes some simple little things that are quick to kind of knock out, that you can do while you're watching TV or something like that. Things like that. So, but if you have suggestions, if it's something I can do, we'll do it. But I think this is going to be kind of interesting. It's just, like I said, I always kind of shied away from it, because I saw so many people struggling to actually have the granny squares work out. And I have to say, it says it's a 4-weight. That's a thin 4. Like, I don't know. I think I would knock down a hook size just to be on the safe side. So yeah, so that's a thing. Does anybody have any questions? It is a bit nerve-wracking when you haven't done this for so long, and it feels like you're just talking to yourself. But that's okay, because you get good answers when you talk to yourself. Nobody can disagree with you. So I have more of this, the Lion Brand Pound of Love. This is called Elephant Gray. So I'm actually debating whether to do the alphabet blanket in this, or getting something more along the Aran color. And I'm surprised how this color doesn't show up very good on stream. And the squares I'm making, I need to put this yarn, so I'm going to put it over here. So the granny squares, I just had, threw that over there with that. So this is just your basic granny square, but I'm using the 4.5mm hook because I don't want the holes to be that big. And I don't start with a magic ring. I've had that fall apart on me recently. First time I've been crocheting since my grandmother taught me when I was 12. I'm now 50-ish. And I actually had a magic ring fall apart on me for the first time. And now I'm kind of leery to use a magic ring. So I'm just starting with the chain 4 and then join the slip stitch and then do my granny square in there. So I've got elephant gray in the middle, a taupe color, and this is I wrote it down. Just one sec. I have if you've never seen these are great, especially if you have somebody in your life that's like crochets or knits. I put all my project information in here, whether it's knitting or crocheting. So it's great because it has like, you write down the project name, who you made it for, your start date, your end date. Then you rate it by stars. I don't know if you can see that, or it's reversed. You rate it on with stars, like how expensive was it to make, how hard, and all this. And you can write down your colors and your hook size, the pattern, where you found the pattern, or if you made it yourself, kind of thing. So the granny square blanket, I have Elephant Gray from Lion Brand Pound of Love, Lion Brand Bundle of Love, which is the multicolor. That's weathered wood. Then I have Lion Brand Pound of Love, which is the blue stuff, the blue edging in stone. Then I have Loops and Thread, Soft Classic, and Mushroom. In my stash, I had Craft Smart Value, which was the old Michael's brand, in espresso. And I have to add, because I didn't know what color I was going to use for the edging, so that was the Lion Brand Pound of Love. In, what did I say it was? Sugar Cookie. So that way I get into attacked by the book. That way I can keep track of everything, what I'm doing it, and what it was. And in some cases, like here was a sweater that I made for myself, which I haven't got to wear yet because it took me forever to make it. You put the labels, and I have all the like the color of the yarns. So that was a Lopi sweater that I made. And you write down any notes, and like I used what size needles I used, where I saw it, if I got the pattern from somebody. That's a sweater I can't make up because that was that was a paid pattern. So yeah, so one of these books is great because say you're like, okay, that blanket turned out really well. Like when I write down the information on the all-in-one granny square, the color pooling, I can make notes on it. I can write down what kind of size hook was the best to use. I can write down, you know, how many balls did it take to do it. You can write down all kinds of things so that if someone turns around and says, oh, that, you know, I really like that. And you're like, I need to make a gift. I could make another one. What did I use? What did I do? Like, it's all in here. And because I know there was a couple where I'm like, I finished it. I made it to the schematics. It measured to a T what the pattern called for. But when I tried it on, I'm like, I wish it was 2 inches longer in the body. So I wrote a little note. Like I had made a sweater one year, and then my mother was like, I really like that sweater. I'm like, I'll make her one for Christmas. But I had a note here that I had to add some length to it because based on the pattern, it wasn't quite for bigger people or those of us that might have a little extra. You kind of want a little longer sweater so that it kind of hangs properly. So I had a note about that. So this was just off Amazon, but it's great because you can go back and put all your notes in it, and there's a little index on the front that you fill in. So when I do a project like it, you can say page this, that, or the other. So they're kind of handy. I have a tank top on the go made out of cotton that I was hoping to have done soon, but it's a paid pattern. So yeah. So hopefully, if you've been crocheting, you've been enjoying it. You've been finding some good deals on yarns. I know with the price of it, I know our yarns have gone up in price at Michael's. Not a huge amount, but sometimes when you're buying it in larger quantities, like for people who tend to like do a lot, it adds up. So when you find the deals, it's good to get it while you can. So yeah. What else do I want to tell you? I knew tonight's live was only going to be at the most 45 minutes to an hour. Just wanted to touch base, say why I wasn't around, that I plan on being back around. Going to do the lives. I did have my tea, which I forgot, which is probably cool now. But I've got some ideas for fun things to do. We could turn around and think of a project that maybe if there's enough people that want to get involved, we could do like a crochet along or a knit along. And that could be, even if it was just during the live where, because I do have other camera, I don't have my craft camera set up. It's there, but I would have to bring it over, unclip it from one spot and put it in another. So if I switch scenes, you could see what I'm working on. But there's lots of things planned for the channel in the future, and things that I didn't get to finish, I'm going to finish, so that I know some people were kind of frustrated in some of the comments that, you know, they should have realized that all the steps weren't there, but it was out of my control at the time. But I think I will redo some of the stuff just so there's more consistency with the videos. You don't see all of a sudden, why was that alphabet blanket gray? Now it's this color. Life happened. So yeah, lots of fun things. I was going to do a couple of rounds on one of the squares here just to get the, because I only picked up the sugar cookie yesterday. And I'll have to tell you too, that Walmart bag was at my doorstep first thing this morning. I waited to open it, and I wanted to open it and see what it would look, because sometimes online it looks the colors are a little bit different. So it's going to be interesting. So fingers crossed. So yeah. So hopefully everything sounded and was clear tonight. Because as I said, I had to set all the settings and everything up again. Some of the lives I may do out at the dining room table, just because sometimes there's more room to put things out. Yeah. So got things planned. More, and there will be tutorials, there will be recorded videos, there will be patterns posted on the website. I plan on getting back into it all. Might be a little slower at first, and then we'll get going into things. And I want to do a lot of seasonal items. I want to do wearables, whether it be knitting or crocheting. I want to do blankets. I want to do, like, I've got so much in my mind that I want to do, but I also know I need to take my time with some of it, because I want to enjoy it, and I also don't want to put myself back in a position where I'm told I can't do it. So there's that. So I think for next week, I will post in the Facebook group, and I will post on YouTube the plan for, like, working on maybe the granny squares, and we'll start working on that together next week, and we'll have a little chit chat, and we'll see if there's any news in the whole yarn and knitting crocheting industry that needs to be chatted about. If you have questions, you can ask the questions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that, and there's lots of videos there for you to catch up on if you haven't seen them, if you're new to the channel. And if you've popped back, I really appreciate you sticking with me throughout my hiatus. That is greatly appreciated, more than you know. Because when it's this type of a thing where viewership is dependent on content, and the content may not be there, the viewership can shift away from you. So I do appreciate it, and there are so many other creators out there that I watch, that I'm sure you watch. There's so many good people out there that make some great content. So hopefully I can keep up to par with them. Everybody has their own different spin and take on things, so we'll see how it goes. We may have to shift things here and there, but we're going to get back to it, and we're going to enjoy it, and we're going to make some nice things together, I think. And hopefully you agree too. If there's any yarns you want to see worked up and I can get them, I will gladly do that. Because I find I tend to go towards the same colors and pattern. Like, very rarely was I getting like ombres or variegated, or I tend to go with just the basic straightforward colors. I want to try to get outside of my comfort zone and find other patterns and work something up, because everyone's got their own taste and stuff. But just because I like something doesn't mean someone else is going to like something. So I need to try to find something else And who knows, I might surprise myself and try a different kind of yarn and be like, why didn't I work with that before? My only issue is with a lot of the yarns lately, they're lay flat to dry. How do you make a blanket out of a really nice yarn and then we have to try to lay that flat to dry? So some things I think too, we need to do a wash dry test, because maybe those yarn instructions, the washing instructions, are just fooling you to cover their own butt. But we'll see. There's some yarns I know there's just no way it can go in the dryer. But those are good for hats and scarves because they're small enough objects, or a baby sweater or a baby blanket because it's not that big. Baby things you want to be able to wash and throw in the dryer because sometimes they spit up on them. That's just the nature of the thing. So, yeah, for the first night back, I think that's pretty good. So, lots of projects ahead. I know I'm rambling. Lots of projects ahead. Hopefully, some suggestions from you folks of some things you might be interested in that I can bring to the channel. We may have some contests or giveaways. We'll see. I do have a couple of packages of stuff from Your Inspirations that have not been opened that might make some good prizes. I had received them from Your Inspirations. What else? We'll just come up with some fun things and informative things. I was trying to think of the word I want to use. And tutorials and stuff. So the channel's coming back full force, eventually full force. But we're going to ease into it, and I'm hoping we'll see what day of the week's going to work out better all around. Right now, potentially Thursday nights, which is tonight, might be the nights for the lives. Potentially. We'll see how that goes. Right now, though, I can't guarantee like tutorial uploads every week. I'm not doing that just yet, but we're going to get back to there. Yeah, I'm excited to be back. I'm excited for some of the things that are up here that I can get on paper and then get out to you guys. I think it's going to be good. I think it'll be nice. It's going to be nice to be back. So I think for tonight, I think that's going to be it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. As I said before, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I appreciate you being here. And I look forward to seeing you again. And I hope your week is full of lots of crocheting or knitting or your craft of choice. And that all the yarn sales and deals come your way. All right. So take care, and I will see you next week. Bye.